this guy is that guy. You know what I mean? If you don't worry, because we've got a full hour to explain it on the DLLS Rangers podcast. Like that one, Prophet. Joc of all trades. Look at there. If you do like the headline that we have, like there, we call that our thumbnail. If you like that, the Prophet wrote it. If you don't, I probably wrote it. But that's a good one, and that's a good guy. That guy, this guy, Joc Pederson, is that guy. That's what I meant, and we'll spend some time explaining it here on the DLLS Rangers podcast. John Radigan Rads with J-Dub. That's Jeff Wilson back in the house. And I mentioned the Prophet Elijah Smith already, man. What a great start to the day. This is one of those days you wake up in the morning and you're just like, this is one of those days. Not New Year's Eve, but just the fact that we get to talk about Joc Pederson and what he brings to the team. I mean, New Year's Eve is cool and all.
Yeah, it's amateur though.
Yeah, it is. It's a little anticlimactic for me, honestly.
Stay in the house.
You know, it happens so many times before it gets to the Central Time Zone. I'm like, whatever, dude. But I do love what we learned about and in meeting Joc Pederson yesterday. We're going to talk a lot about that. We want to talk about it with you. So all you have to do is chat with us to do that on a Happy New Year. It's the DLLS Rangers podcast. Like us, subscribe to us, and yeah, Coop, thanks for being there with us. And we saw some of your notes and stuff on Twitter last night, so we'll address some of that as we go. Now then, Joc Pederson was introduced officially yesterday, and it was a very good press conference for a couple of reasons. One of them will be evident in the video we're going to play now. It's one of the things, Jeff and I have talked about this before. It's a press conference.
You're supposed to clap for me. Awesome, man. Appreciate it. Here you go.
Supposed to clap. Now, what happens at a lot of these introductory press conferences is that you know, there's team officials in the room too, and they clap.
Oh yeah.
But that's the only clap I need right there. Two claps. The clap with the GM, the clap with the president of baseball operations, Joc Pederson, officially introduced, and the hug, I think from CY, the bro hug, Jeff, was sincere, right? I mean, this is a guy, Chris Young likes all the players he has, but you can tell there's a special feeling about this guy. He really enjoys who Joc Pederson is, and that's really important to him always. That's part of what they're always looking for, is sort of that profile of a player, of a man.
Yeah, in full disclosure, I wasn't there, so what I've seen is just what Abby and our accounts tweeted out. But you have followed the guy for a number of years, and you see that he is a little more gregarious than other players. Seems like he has a good time playing the game. And then you saw some of his answers yesterday. He's not afraid to speak his mind.
No.
And when you were talking about it, the first thing that came to my mind was Lance Berkman, who wasn't here long, but that guy, he'll talk your ear off, and sometimes good, sometimes bad, but it's a guy who's out there, and I think Austin Hedges might have been that guy for the Rangers there in 23 after they got him, and then just somebody whose personality just kind of stands out there. You know?
And the comp with Berkman, I think, is really good, because Berkman was, an all-star level, elite level at various points in his career type player, as has been Joc Pederson. But when we were talking about the guy that Joc Pederson is to him and with CY, you know, he brought up, we didn't, he brought up, he said, yeah, I mean, you know, I've been fortunate. I've won 2 World Series and I've been to the All-Star game. And, you know, I've had a lot of great things happen in my career. He said, but I've also been sent down.
Yeah.
You know, I've also been released. I've also been cut. I know I've also been benched. You know, he goes, I can relate to every guy on this team. And it almost seemed to me like he was selling his abilities, right, to his teammates already through the media, which I'm certain he wasn't. But that was sort of the line there was like, fear not, guys. If you're going to think just because you're getting sent down or, you know, whatever, I can't relate to you, I can. And I think it just showed to me that's why I say he's that guy. He's that guy who can relate to everybody in the clubhouse, from Corey Seager, who he's, you know, good friends with from their days in Los Angeles, 5 years together there, to the, you know, the 25th or 26th man on the roster who might be getting shuttled back and forth. He can relate.
Yeah, I think that guy is on the team last season, 2024, was probably Eovaldi.
Yeah,
you know, you if you talk to these minor leaguers, you know, the pitchers, obviously, he texts them during the season, you know, and he you know, he's a veteran guy. He's been hurt. Was drafted out of high school, I believe, out of Alvin, and he's had a long road and experienced a lot of things. And he's not afraid to talk to somebody, you know, and that comes with, you know, some pelts on the wall, if you will, and you know, he also has 2 World Series. So he's probably was that guy last season. Probably not as loud,
right,
as Joc Pederson appears to be, but a guy who can show compassion for certain players in certain situations, and also if he sees something that's not quite right, say, hey, you should try this. So I'm looking forward to getting to know Joc. It's a 2-year deal unless he opts out, but I don't think he will. But a 2-year deal, maybe 3. There's a mutual option in there, so it should be fun. And I do wonder what effect he'll have on Corey Seager. If you'll see a little more outgoing Corey Seager than, you know, the sheltered Corey Seager we've known.
Yeah,
you know, Corey's not going to alter his routine or anything, but maybe a little more personality. We'll see. So anyway, yeah, seems like a good guy. Hopefully, a guy who's not afraid of podcasts.
Right?
It seems like he'd be podcast friendly.
Yeah,
so maybe we
very
can get him on the
podcast-friendly.
show.
Yeah,
and go from there. But you know, and he feels a need. You know, that he's gonna add some thump to the lineup. Yes, it's going to be probably in a platoon role. He'll probably get some at bats against lefties. You know, whether it's like, you know, it's a 12-0 game and he's in there, no need to pinch hit for him, something like that. But I'm looking forward to it. I really am.
Well, and speaking of him as a player, right, that's the first reason that the Rangers were interested in him in this free agent market, was that he brings to them something they need desperately, right? And that's a guy who can provide power and a guy who can hit the fastball. He can do both of those things. And, of course, he does it against right-handed pitching. So that's a really good thing, because most games you face right-handed pitching. So let's hear from Joc now on just sort of what he brings to the table. Also on the fact that he, a former San Francisco Giant, is reunited with his old, now the new Rangers hitting coach, Justin Veely.
I strive for greatness. I have a high bar ceiling for myself as a standard, and part of the growth of just wanting to become great and perfecting your craft is making adjustments, checking yourself in the mirror on a daily basis after the season. So I think as 18, 19, 20, start 21, you continue to make adjustments and keeping a log of what you do well, what you don't do well, how do I do this better, how much can I try to work on my weaknesses but not lose my strength, or even, you know, sometimes people have a weakness and they attack their weakness to make it 5% better, but then their strength gets depleted by 30%, so now it's like, well, where's all your power, or where's your whatever their strength is? And it's like, you still need to remember what you did, what you do well, and continue on that path. And to Justin Veely, I love JV. I was with him in San Francisco, had a great relationship with him. He was a guy that he was the guy I hit with every day in the cage down there, in the foxhole, just grinding. And, good times, bad times, he always had my back. He always had the tough conversation of like, hey, we need to get back to doing this drill, or I know you don't like this, but, like, you're doing this again, or, just a tough conversation to keep you accountable. And I think that good coaches have the confidence to be able to keep you accountable and not let you just do what's comfortable, because this game, it gets monotonous sometimes, and to have that standard of winning every day, there's no you need excellence. You need that standard every day.
So last year, he didn't play one game in the field. Joc Pederson was a designated hitter every time he was in the lineup for the Diamondbacks last year. Chris Young told us separately from the main press conference, we had a chat with him afterwards, and he said, we are not thinking of him as exclusively as a DH, right? He says there's a chance that we'll have him in the outfield. Joc was asked about it up there on the platform there, and he said, last year I improved so much as an outfielder. He said, I did early work every day, and he named the assistant coach there in Arizona who was really helping him. And he goes, but it got to the point where the team was doing so well, I didn't have any reason to put my ego ahead of what the team needed, which was I really want to play some outfield, but if I'm not the best choice as an outfielder today, then we shouldn't put me out there. And that's one of those things that makes me say this guy is that guy, right? Like, so many players, obviously you don't get to that level without a tremendous amount of self-confidence, which can sometimes come across as a huge ego, right?
Right.
And so consequently, you get clouded a little bit, personally by that. He hasn't. He gets it. He was like, hey, do what's best for this team right now. We're trying to win ball games and get in the playoffs, which ultimately they didn't quite do in Arizona last year.
Nathaniel Lowe's the most recent example of a guy who, if you work at it and you're motivated because you're so bad at it, to get better.
Yep.
And I don't think anybody wants to be a one-dimensional player. This isn't there's no Rob Deers out there anymore. These guys want to be able to to do it all and help the team in a lot of ways. So he'll get a lot of work out there in the outfield. I'm sure of it in spring training and the Rangers, they're going to need a guy,
They are.
Just as the roster stands right now, they're an outfielder short. They can't just have a DH clogging the roster and not doing anything. So, and again, they like to use that DH spot to give guys days off or quasi days off. So it'll be interesting to see how it works out. But
he made the All-Star team twice as an outfielder.
Sure.
In the National League. But,
he's not going to win a Gold Glove.
No, but he's not, he's not a butcher out there, I don't think. But admittedly, wasn't good enough to crack the Diamondbacks, outfield roster last year and stayed happy and content as a DH. That's a really good thing about him. I loved Abby was with us at the press conference yesterday, and her. She's up to speed on all these behind-the-scenes things. So he has signed He's signed a deal with Whataburger recently.
Oh, really?
Yeah, Joc has. So she said, so you got Whataburger, you got a new, sponsor in Whataburger, and you got a teammate named Jake Burger. So what are we doing here? We're going to go with some saying he got to thinking about it and chuckled. The one thing I thought was great, he goes, I collect bats.
Oh, that's cool.
He goes, and so last year when we were in Miami, he goes, I sent word over to the clubhouse. He said, I'd never met Jake Burger. He goes, but I sent word over to the clubhouse. I'd like to get one of his bats. He goes, when I go into a place and I see somebody who hits like he hits, I want one of their bats. And he said, and we go, like, what did you see when he hits? So, it's coming off hot. He said, so I thought that was really cool that, just sort of randomly, a guy who's now his teammate, this was one of the people. And these, when you play baseball every day, right, you see it differently. And so he sees it and goes, dang, that guy.
That's these guys watch so much baseball.
Yeah.
And they can quickly admire somebody or something can get their attention. So, and that's pretty cool, and I remember, and I know we're coming up on our break, but Adrian Beltre, they're in Anaheim, and I can't remember the pitcher now, but broke 3 of his bats in the game, and so Adrian sent him a fake invoice, just kind of a respect thing.
Yeah,
so that's pretty funny.
Yeah, I love that kind of stuff, and I love the fact that Joc Pederson was so impressed with Jake Berger that he wanted one of his bats for the collection. So good stuff. We've got more coming up. We'll talk more about Joc Pederson, but also we saw the questions already, and coming up next, we are going to talk about that conference call with Joel Wolfe. It wasn't extremely newsy, but there's some things to talk about within. We'll definitely get to those, and we will also later on get to our moments of the year for your Texas Rangers. Think about yours. It's all coming up. It's the DLLS Rangers Podcast. First Empire today. What a great place it is to get new floors. It's almost a new year. Happy New Year and happy new floor. Get yourself a new floor. This is the time to do it. It's the beginning of the year. Start fresh. Start new. Make that one of your New Year's resolutions that your floors are going to look fantastic. There's an easy way to do it. Go with the leader, the originator, the innovator. Go with Empire today. They've been doing it in this market for, as Jeff mentioned the other day, I've been here it'll be 35 years that I've been here as of February. So I promise you they've been doing it for 35 years. I don't know how long ago the song went away. We'll have to get our Mavs guys in here to sing the song once again to bring back some memories. But use their virtual technology. Take a picture of your floor. They show you what options you have available to you and how they would look on that floor. EmpireToday.com/DLLS. Get $350 off your new floors.
John, I got back last night from Colorado, and man, was I happy to be back because I could start doing sleeper again.
Yeah, no kidding.
It's in 25 states in the U.S. Colorado's not one of them, but Texas is, by golly. If you use the code DLLS Rangers, you get a $100 first match deposit. I opened up the app today, and boom, they had a little $5 gift for us for New Year's, so that's nice. Anyway, sleeper, known for its fantasy, but now they're in the daily picks business. Will Shea Gilgeous-Alexander get more or less than 32.5 points? You decide. You build pick a few of those, submit your entry, and sit back and watch the games and have a good time. I'm big on the double. That's my NBA thing.
Okay, nice.
Double doubles. So anyway, here's what you need to do. If you think you have what it takes, download the Sleeper app, insert the code DLS Rangers, get the $100 first match deposit. You can do it right now. So see Sleeper's terms for use of details.
So you bring up Shea Gilgeous-Alexander. Most of our chat people know in the past when I've worked at Bally in the off season, I did a lot of Thunder. I did the pre and post game shows from the studio. And Shea, by the way, is a double machine. So keep that in mind on your picks.
Okay.
Secondly, I wasn't there when they were winning 12 in a row. What the heck? This year, Bally nosedives and they're gone. I could have done the Thunder shows and still done this. But anyway, I digress. Thunder are a fun team. And I know you're all Mavs fans, but the Thunder are a fun team when they're not playing the Mavs.
Yeah, they've got a guy on their team I never heard of.
Probably a few. Hartenstein?
That's a double machine.
Big, strong lad. Yeah,
so
big, strong lad.
He's on my card for tonight.
Okay, good.
Yeah.
I like that. Yeah. All right, so let's get to this Joel Wolfe conference call yesterday. And quickly, I'll mention that CY was asked about it in our post-press conference gathering. And he just basically, Evan, I think, asked the question, all right, so Joel Wolfe has this call tonight. Is there anything we should know on your end? He goes, I'll just say we had a great conversation with Sasaki and his group when we did, and we haven't heard anything since, and we're just letting the process follow its due course. So, which is what we expected, but you have to ask that question.
Well, sure you do. And, I listened to the call. It was pretty funny because the call started and you could see Joel Wolfe talking. and was like, well, shoot, he's on mute. Maybe he's just talking to his assistants or something.
Sure.
And then all of a sudden he looks at his phone and like, and
I'm
he's
on
like,
mute.
He's like, well, I've been on mute for 3 minutes, so here we go again. But he didn't offer a lot, and he said that's by Sasaki's request and also in his interest too. He doesn't want to do anything to rock the boat. He said that they did not tell teams to not discuss anything. So the teams that have confirmed that they met with Sasaki, like the Rangers, don't hold that against them. Everything's fine there. But yeah, I guess the update is that Sasaki is in Japan, meeting, hanging out with his fam and his team of people who are helping him make this decision. Wolfe didn't confirm the teams, how many. He did say there were 20 teams that initially sent in proposals, which seems like a low number.
Shocking to me. I read that too. I'm like,
that's 2/3 of the league. Throw it in there. See what happens.
Which 10 teams didn't want this guy?
Right, exactly. Or else they're like, we're never going to get him. It's a waste of our time. But it's interesting. Wolfe at least is cognizant of the fact that this is going to affect a lot of international players and Latin American players because of the January 15th window. Nevertheless, he doesn't expect Sasaki to sign on January 15th. Yeah. He thinks this is going to go right up to the deadline. The next step, I don't think Wolfe knows. He said that Sasaki is driving the ship. There's the possibility that a few more teams will get initial interviews, or maybe Sasaki's going to make some cuts, make some trips, and then decide. It doesn't sound though like anything is going to happen here until maybe late next week. Just with travel and considerations and all of that, holiday and whatnot. So just kind of waiting and seeing. But a couple interesting things. The meetings were in Los Angeles. No players. Sasaki didn't want any players in there.
I like that,
which I thought was interesting. Which meant that maybe that put the Dodgers at a decided disadvantage, and the Padres too. Although he knows those guys, so market size, it doesn't really matter. I still think though that the media thing is gonna be a factor. And when you look at the Dodgers team, they have American media, and then they have a fleet of Japanese reporters. And if he has issues with the Japanese media, Sasaki that is, there's going to be 30 people every game,
every day,
tracing his every step. Not saying that that's going to ultimately determine it, but I think that's a factor. And then it was interesting though. Joe Wolfe said Sasaki was incredibly prepared, and actually gave teams like what he called a homework assignment.
I saw that,
and it basically was an exercise to see how they would respond analytically and how they would handle particular situation. I think maybe it never specified that either, but kind of make the team think on their feet. And as Joel Wolfe said, it kind of really gave the teams a chance to express what they specialize in. So we all know how smart Chris Young is. I mean, he went to Princeton, for crying out loud.
When I read about the homework assignment, that's exactly what I thought was, okay, so Chris Young is so brilliant and can talk the pitching. One of the things within the homework assignment was pitching development, right? Well, who better to know how to develop a pitcher than a guy who got developed himself, right? And so I thought that really played into their favor, if you will. And then it was a part of the assignment was, how do you intend to handle this Japanese player, this player being here? And again, the Rangers have a blueprint. I mean, they, are at the winter meetings, we saw John Blake being interviewed by Japanese media because they had handled that process so well. So it does seem like that they check both those, but that may not be all that's in the homework assignment, but both of those things are components of it.
Yeah, and I thought that something that intrigued me was Joel Wolfe said Roki is not a finished product.
Right.
and he wants to be not just the best Japanese pitcher ever in the United States. He wants to be one of the best pitchers in baseball history, and is motivated to do so. And he wants to take advantage of everything. He wants to play the best players. He thinks that that's going to accelerate his path to greatness, is to jump now and face the best players. And then, but he wants a team that's going to help him transition quickly, but then keep him great. And I thought, Joe Wolfe said, the meetings generally consisted of the couple top baseball officials, manager, pitching coach, and then people from various, research and development staffs, the medical staff. I think those are all, you can't get much better than Bruce Bochy and Mike Maddox.
No.
As a 1-2 punch.
No. And Chris Young.
Yeah, right. Yeah. Just Chris's ability to talk the game. And then, I'd really like to know who the people were, like the medical staff people.
Yeah.
I mean, what if they just brought in Keith Meiser, the leading orthopedist in the country, and listen to Keith talk about it, and because the Rangers are dealing with some guys who are coming back from Tommy John surgery. I think that's something that maybe Sasaki is going to be looking at. All of these things, and if Sasaki was prepared, then he understands that Japanese pitchers generally get hurt when they come to the United States. I mean, it's Darvish had Tommy John surgeries. Ohtani's had 2, for crying out loud.
Yeah.
Yamamoto last year had an elbow sprain. Kende Kodai Senga with the Mets was injured this year. There's just a bunch of Japanese players that come over and get hurt. Tanaka, who apparently was Sasaki's favorite player growing up, he never had Tommy John, but that last year of the Yankees was just he wasn't throwing fastballs because it hurt his arm, it hurt his elbow. So it'll be interesting to see how that happens. How to hear it. We're not going to hear it till after the fact, if we hear it at all. Maybe the team that wins will go in detail about the process, but
probably not.
So anyway,
probably not. One thing I really liked is that Sasaki himself wanted to make this an even, match, right? He wanted every team to have 2 hours or less. He wanted, as Jeff mentioned, no players involved to try and sway the thing. Although, Joel Wolfe said it was kind of like the Roki Sasaki Film Festival, right? Everybody was showing films and videos, but there were films, there were videos, there were books.
Right.
That were all presented as part of their package. Teams trying to get creative, but playing by the rules, which you certainly had to do if you want to stay in this race.
Yeah.
We only know that 6 teams are still in it, right? Strangely, the one that's not on the list that we think probably really is the Padres.
Yeah, I think I saw something yesterday where they are believed to have met with Sasaki. The one that surprises me is the Mariners. Just because, gosh, you look at their rotation, it's like, shoot, these guys are homegrown. They're doing something. They're doing something right. As you've mentioned, they have, of course, the rich history with Japanese players, namely Ichiro, is going to be going into the Hall of Fame in 2025, and then I've had some really good Japanese food in Seattle. So.
All kinds of the Asian food market there is unbelievable.
So that one surprised me, and maybe they're one of these teams that does get an interview, or maybe there was just something there he didn't like. But anyway, not a lot came from yesterday. I think that's the biggest thing that came from it is there's no timeline going forward when round 2 is going to begin. And I don't know that we'll get an update on like who's made the cut. So
I agree.
I think this might be the last time we hear from Joe Wolfe for a while.
Yeah. Wow. Okay. So that's good. One other thing that I did want to mention, sometimes you read between the lines, and Joel Wolfe said in there, next step might be that he comes and visits a couple of cities, right? So it seems like, he's narrowing it down maybe to a couple, 2, who knows, 3. We'll see what happens. But he's probably not going to visit all 6 or 7 or 8 of the cities that are known to have spoken with him. All right, more coming up as we continue on this New Year's Eve. Happy New Year to you and to yours. As we continue with the Rangers podcast today, we'll talk about the closer market. We talked to CY about that yesterday, and also get to our moments of the year this season, 2024, with your Texas Rangers. It's next on the DLLS Rangers podcast.
You know, I was just in Colorado. I'm pretty sure that's where Saturday Neon was founded. Started by two college buddies, you know, and they make officially licensed collegiate LED neon signs, perfect for your home office, storm, fan cave, or bar. But they also make custom signs, and they have made one for the DNVR, our sister station there in Denver. So, you know, hey, if you got a business and you want a neon sign,
cool.
Yeah, get to Saturday Neon and contact them. If you use the code DLLS, you get 10% off. You know, they haven't done TCU yet. All right, so I need to get. That's the first order of business for the new athletic director, is to get with Saturday Neon. But they've got Texas and A&M and Tech, Oklahoma State for those in the Big 12 territories. It's just a good gift for dudes. So head over to SaturdayNeon.com and use the code DLLS for 10% off your favorite sign.
Yeah, and we would encourage you to get one of these Rugged Road coolers, too. If you didn't get one for Christmas, you might have had fingers crossed, hoping there would be one under the tree. Get one for yourself, because it's, you know, really going to be that season very soon, that season where you need a cooler for virtually everything you do. And even now, this is the kind of time of year. These temperatures are great for like the camping and things like that. So take a cooler like this one with you when you go. They are so good, these Rugged Roads. The thing I like best about them is the hardware. It just seems indestructible. And the versatility of the cooler inside is fantastic, with compartments and areas to separate your ice from your other foods that you don't want to get real icy but stay cold. Things stay cold in there for a full week. So we encourage you to investigate and purchase the greatness of the Rugged Road cooler, ruggedroad.com, promo code DLLS, and you get 10% off Rugged Road. So, asked CY yesterday, I said, basically, the closer market hasn't even started, right, to reveal itself yet. What do you do? Do you wait? Do you just kind of sort of let it play out? And he said, no, not at all. We don't do that. We are working in various avenues. And then he brought up, I think his exact words were, don't forget trades, right? Now, so does that mean they're working on a trade? Not necessarily. He might have just been listing all the different ways that you can get a closer, that you can acquire a closer. And he also may be trying to throw people off the scent, like, we're working really hard on Kirby Yates, but let people think there's a trade out there, right? Either way, the point is that they're definitely working on it. It seems, because that closer market is just so quiet right now, they're like, did the Rangers forget they need a closer? What's going on?
It's really interesting that's where I just think closers are such a vital thing, for a winning club. And I know that the playoffs this year might have dispelled that a little bit when you saw Emmanuel Clase wet himself, and then
spit the bit,
the Dodgers. Walker Buehler closed out the clincher, but the Yankees had issues ultimately that might have hurt them in some ways when Clay Holmes wasn't quite there, and now he's a dang starter for the Mets. So when you do look at the trade market, the Cardinals have a guy named Ryan Helsley who throws 1,000 miles an hour, has a relationship with Mike Maddox.
Yep.
So that seems like a guy who,
and they're trying to bust that thing down.
And it sounds like he's on the available. 49 saves last year. That's pretty salty.
Yeah.
Strikes out a bunch of guys. All of that stuff. Mike Bassick last week asked, "Hey, let's trade for Emmanuel Clase." Hey, that's right. That's kind of fun. And then a little further down the pecking order, you kind of look. David Bednar, always been a guy that people wanted from the Pirates. He had a pretty lousy year last year. And then some other hard throwers like Camilo Doval from the Giants, who just had a crapola year last year, really, but a big arm. Maybe that's a guy. So if you're looking at the trade market, I think Kirby Yates is still the guy that they want.
I agree.
It's just trying to figure out, what do you pay a 38-year-old closer,
and for how long?
Yeah, right. And I really think that a 2-year deal gets it 2 and 20, 2 and 21, something like that, gets it done. I mean, that's a 150% raise from what he made last year. So I would think that that's a guy, and I don't see him in the chat today, but we got a big Pete Fairbanks fan who usually chimes in right about now when we do the closer talk. Get back to the team that drafted him and developed him. Pete Fairbanks was a Rangers draftee. He had Tommy John with the Rangers. You figure the Rays aren't going to be able to afford him much longer. So I don't know what's going to happen, but by gosh, they got to get one.
Somebody asked CY yesterday. You had Kirby Yates just fall into your lap last year, and he goes, whoa. He didn't just fall into our lap. We went and got him. We got him at the right time. Right. I mean, they got him for $4.5 million last year because coming off a down year, and he needed a year to prove himself.
Yeah.
And then he did it. And that's why he's going to get 150% raise somewhere, whether it's with the Rangers or somebody else.
Yeah. And, he was a late bloomer. If you look at his career, he didn't really come onto the scene until like 2019. He'd been with the Rays, and then, I think he pitched for the Yankees a little bit, and then all of a sudden he's with the Padres. He's the best closer in
and he
baseball.
Was an all-star in
2019,
right?
41 saves. So this isn't unfamiliar to him. It just took a little while after the injury, and he's back. So maybe he's got a lot of bullets left in there. It's not like he's throwing, the ball through the wall. He's 92, 93, and get it done. If you believe in this guy, he's not going to have a 1.17 ERA in all likelihood. In 2025, but he's going to be good. He's going to be dependable, and he's filling something that you absolutely need and do not have right now. So I think that's the Rangers have to be in on him, and we have trades, rarities there. Trade for Clase. I think it would take a lot more than John Gray
and Ezekiel Duran.
The Guardians are going to want young guys who are prospects,
controllable too,
and I don't know how where you'd want to start in that prospect list, but it'd be some pretty big ones in there. And then 47 run, any 37 to 40-year-old old right-handed pitchers who are available. Well, Kirby Yates.
There you go.
Chris Martin. Who the Rangers...
I'm afraid 47 was being a little, sarcastic there, but you know what? If they work, they work.
Well, look, David Robertson turned 40 last year.
He did.
And he was
and is Evo not? What's Evo? 30, 35?
He's like 35.
35.
Chris Martin, a guy who's been linked to the Rangers, who's going to be 39 this year, or is 39 now. This is the last year he wants to pitch. So there are a lot of guys like that. I think Kendall Graveman is somebody they should look at. A guy who missed all of last season, and when he's healthy, he's really, really good. I think he could be had for a pretty cheap rate. Some people have mentioned Craig Kimbrell, who has really kind of Hall of Fame numbers, but was not very good last year for the Orioles, who I think just finally said the hell if they were cutting you, and they were desperate, for bullpen help. So anyway, that's interesting though, a trade, and that's where these teams really can do the cloak and dagger stuff.
Yes,
because you don't know who they identify, what they look at, what they value, and in terms of pitch metrics and things like that, and who they think is available. Things they hear from their scouts, talking to scouts and other teams, like, oh yeah, we're about to start rebuilding. Just sure. Some company secrets that get out there a little bit, and so,
which again, that goes back to the Mike Maddox thing, right? I mean, these are relationships, so it's not even him calling the GM. Mosliak, is that who's in St. Louis? Anyway, whoever. He's not calling somebody in the front office. He's calling his buddies who still work there, and he's going, what are you doing for Christmas? Oh, by the way, I hear we're trading something. Oh, really?
Yeah.
I mean, that's how these things go. These are relationships. And Mike Maddox, as you mentioned, has a relationship with pretty much everybody he's ever worked with. I mean, he's that guy, too, in that regard.
Yeah.
He's great. And and they all seem to really. I mean, there's got to be some out there that don't like the Mike Maddox style, but we sure never see him or hear of him.
Yeah, what does Mike Maddox do? He goes to the playoffs.
Yeah,
last year was a rare exception for him.
Yeah,
this guy's always in the playoffs, and he'll figure out what's wrong. A lot of it is not necessarily, you're doing this with your delivery, though there's plenty of that. A lot of it is between the ears. He tries to build your confidence up and convince you that you can pitch with a fastball. Your fastball is good enough to get guys out, to get ahead in counts. And, the big thing with Jordan Montgomery when he came over is, I think it was his changeup that he had just stopped throwing in St. Louis that he threw for Maddox the year prior. And that was the first thing that Mike said to him in their initial meeting. I'm looking at your stuff. Where's your changeup? Yeah. And so they started throwing that some more. And it's just a young guy, like Walt Pennington, like I told you. I mean,
yeah.
When Walt got sent down the very first time, they said, go down there and just throw your fastball. It's good enough. You just have to be able to command it. And so it's just building that up, conviction, believing that you're good enough and that the pitch is good enough and that you're going to execute it. And if you do that, again, pitchers are successful 70 to 80% of the time. They're going to get you out. A 300 hitter these days is a rarity.
Yeah.
And, so pitchers are winning 70 to 80% of the time. And they just have to remember that and know that they have the advantage. If they execute, it's going to be hard as hell for somebody to get a hit.
It's a great point. Although the other side of that coin, though, is it's so dramatic and it's so visible when they lose, when they aren't on the winning side of that. Like, watching that ball leave the yard, it's hard to do. But you're right. Yeah. I mean, you think about that, 70 to 80% of the time. We used to say it was, 66% of the time, right?
Yeah.
Because there were 300 hitters all over the place. Not anymore.
Right.
I think there were only like 8 last year.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Amazing.
But, somebody told me this once that a guy, you have to be perfect, absolutely perfect to fail 70% of the time.
Right.
And that's just crazy, but it's true, and then it's true at all levels. I mean, I tell my son that. It's like, hey, you're going to get out.
Yeah.
But, it's, as of course, as he gets older, it's going to be a bigger thing. So don't let it get you down.
Yeah.
It happens in baseball.
Yeah.
Guys make outs more than they
Which
don't.
is why when you hear about the numbers that an Ezekiel Duran put up, we were talking about him yesterday, but that the numbers that he was putting up, granted in the Dominican Winter League, but that's impressive again at almost any level,
Yeah, it is. And you can take a look at these winter leagues and they all do certain things. Like Mexico is big on breaking balls. But these are guys who are trying to get jobs. They're trying to get you out.
Yes.
And they're guys who have pitched in the minor leagues or even the major leagues. And they're trying to get a scout's attention. These leagues are heavily scouted, and so hitters don't have it easy. You never see, nobody's hitting 500 down there for crying out loud.
No.
It's hard to do. So yeah, it's and especially now, pitchers have the advantage. They really do. It's just with pitch shapes and velocity and all
spin
that
rates.
Stuff. Yeah, all that crap.
Yeah.
Sadly, it's not crap, but all that stuff.
Yeah, but sadly, all that stuff is also what's contributed, and Keith Meister will tell you this, to all the arm injuries.
Yeah.
They used to just throw the ball over the plate and see if you could hit it. Now there's so much more to it, and sadly, that has contributed to the fact that almost every big league pitcher has or will have Tommy John surgery. Almost every single one.
And now it's like they're going to have 2.
Yeah.
So
could be 2.
Yeah.
And there you go. So anyway, that's our talk about the closer. It's something the Rangers are very much still working on. Know this. I used to tell people this about the TV contract all the time. I'd say the Rangers games will be on TV next year, right? No matter what. We don't know where, but they will be on TV. The Rangers will have a closer next year. We know that.
Yeah.
Believe me. That's a given. So more coming up as we get to our favorite moments of the year and do the rest of our cleanup segment. It's the DLLS Rangers Podcast. I got the merch on today with one of my favorites. Kind of a New Year's Eve type thing, though, isn't it?
Oh, it's very flashy.
Confetti.
Yeah, very happy. Yeah.
Yeah, it's a confetti. It's a happy thing. It's got different logos and letters and colors. And anyway, I like this one. I like all the merch from DLLS. I think you will, too. Do yourself a favor. If you didn't get any for Christmas, get yourself some for New Year's. It's not expensive. It's pretty cheap to get these shirts. There's more than just shirts there, too. So go to store.allcitynetwork.com and check out the wide variety of things that we have there. The variety of things will increase soon because we know we're finally going to be getting hats sometime after the new year. We don't know exactly when yet, but we were told sometime in 2025. So as we continue to grow, they continue to give us more and more merchandise, and it's all pretty cool stuff. It's also like really nice material and washable, and you throw it in the washer and dryer, and then put it on, and it fits great. So there you go. Get that stuff at store.allcitynetwork.com.
Yeah, I've got a shirt on too today.
Under
Texas Chew. Yeah, I'm not gonna pull my sweatshirt.
Yeah,
it's on. I'm back. I'm back in the gear.
Beautiful.
And you get a free shirt, John.
That's right.
When you become a diehard for $79.99 a year. That's what I did the math. It's less than $7 a month. And my Starbucks today was $5.90. So I think you cut out the Starbucks one day and you're good. You also get access to all of our stuff that's behind the paywall. Not just me, but everybody. Clarence Hill, Tim Cato on the Mavs. Sam on the Stars. It's good stuff. I mean, we're veteran guys. We know what we're talking about, and we are cheaper, I guarantee you, than the newspaper down the street and the piece of crap across the Metroplex. So go to AllCity, alldls.com, and become a diehard today. Yep,
we appreciate it. I think you're going to like it if you do it. First, quickly, a Alex Bregman update. There are reports all over in the Detroit Free Press, most notably, that not only are the Tigers, even though they got Gleyber Torres from the Yankees, not only are they in, but according to the beat writer, the veteran beat writer in Detroit for the Free Press, they're all in. I mean, they're trying to throw all their resource. And again, we've speculated about it, the A.J. Hinch tie. Right, with Alex Bregman. They were together, of course, in Houston. And then it's just a matter of, working out the details, and probably a matter of Bregman making sure, and his agent making sure, that nobody is going to be more all in, right? So you take the best deal, but if you can find the best deal that includes a former manager who you really like and really get along with, and vice versa, that's a good thing. It's a win-win.
Sure. And, I still think they're, God, Boston's just such a good fit for him. Okay, you look at whatever they're calling the Minute Maid Park these days. I don't remember.
I forgot
the new name is.
It, didn't they?
But left field, Crawford boxes, short, great for right-handed hitters. Fenway Park, short, great for right-handed hitters. Don't forget who their manager is. It's Alex Cora, who was the bench coach under A.J. Hinch. So there are ties everywhere. And they want to. The Red Sox have talked about moving their third baseman Devers over across the diamond to first base. So it just adds up. And the Red Sox didn't win on Soto. They've been making these kind of smart, if you will, signings like Buehler, the 1 year $20 million deal. Boston's has money. I mean, I know that they don't spend like they used to, but I mean, I just think it makes too much sense, and if you're Bregman, it's like, okay, well, I could go to Boston where, boy, that wall right there really inviting. I'm going to get a lot of doubles and some home runs. Or you go to Detroit, it's like, God dang, it's 345 down the line.
It's a big boy field. And they've moved him in, by the way.
Yeah, but still, it's like, come on.
Him in. Yeah.
Yeah, and it's going to. So, I don't know. That's an interesting one. I guess that's the next big one. Him and Santander. Still out there after Teoscar signed with the Dodgers. So that pool's getting thinner, but there's still teams with needs.
Yeah, and Teoscar's 3 for 66.
Yeah.
I think both of the others that you mentioned get a bigger – I mean, I know Alex Bregman gets a bigger contract than that, and probably a longer-term contract, and that's what he's waiting for. I mean, we're pretty sure that the Astros have offered him 5 and maybe even 6.
Yeah.
So – He's looking for 6 or 7.
Well, and,
or 8.
and then if you worry about the losing the draft picks because of the qualifying offer, it's like, all right, are you going to get a better player in the 2nd and the 3rd round than Alex Bregman
no.
or Anthony Santander? No. So you bite the bullet and you get the better player. So that's what the Rangers did with Evaldi and Seager and Simeon and DeGrom. Those guys. So that one needs to get resolved though. It's starting to get into Cody Bellinger, Jordan Montgomery territory. Starting to have that feel.
Yeah, it is, which would be very disappointing for them, certainly. Okay, so let's this is an exciting day every year because what we have on tap is the Winter Classic. And this, in this case, marries hockey and baseball because the Winter Classic, which is just such a great game every year, it was in Dallas not that long ago, is in Wrigley Field this year. And they've actually played other games in Wrigley Field. Look at there. Look at the setup at Wrigley Field for a hockey game to be played between the Blackhawks and the St. Louis Blues. It's the Winter Classic. The one that was here at the Cotton Bowl was fantastic, even though, to me, the best are at those places where, and you could get this still at Wrigley, who knows, I don't know what their forecast is, but where you could be playing on the ice outside in the snow.
I'm looking right now at the weather, in fact. It's currently raining, mixing with snow.
Okay.
40 degrees.
Let's get a little colder,
continuing through 5 p.m. So, and the low is expected to be 28. There's a small craft advisory for anybody thinking about operating some small crafts.
Michigan. Yeah.
So be careful out there.
Yeah.
But anyway, it seems kind of wintry.
It does. Not wintry enough for my taste. I love it when the big flakes are falling and they're skating over that. And that, I will say this, that rain can really sort of muddy up the ice, which is, I did it on, ponds growing up all the time. And the only time you really don't want to skate much is a rain day. So, but again, I'm sure they've got that figured out and they'll just freeze that ice where the rain will freeze as soon as it hits type of thing. But anyway, I'll always love the Winter Classic, and it's at Wrigley Field, historic Wrigley Field. One of my 2 favorite ballparks, that and Fenway would be my top 2, I think, really. So
okay,
yeah.
I'm not sure.
I
really like Fenway better than Wrigley.
Yeah, I like the old ones. So, and Wrigley reminds me, for whatever reason, Wrigley reminds me more of Tiger Stadium than Fenway does, even though Fenway and Tiger Stadium opened the same year, 1912. Okay, so that's fun. That's cool. It's a marriage of 2 of my favorites, hockey and baseball, in the Winter Classic this year. Now, let's get to our moments of the year.
Okay.
And you guys feel free to weigh in if whatever your favorite moment
favorite Rangers
of the Rangers season in 2024. And it was so easy last year,
Of course.
So easy. And again, everybody had a different moment during the year, during the run, I hope.
Yeah.
It wasn't always just about Josh Boers throwing his glove down, although that one was pretty cool.
Yeah, that was pretty cool.
But there were other, Corey Seager home runs or Adolis Garcia home runs or those types of things that were fantastic, Anyway, this year, not as easy to pick.
It's not, and singular moments are a little harder to come by. One of the ones that came to mind was Josh Smith's walk-off homer early August against the Astros. It was in the 10th inning. Hit it off a lefty, which I think is notable. It was one of those no-doubters. Wyatt Langford's inside the park home run, of course, was fantastic. He did a ton of stuff. He hit for the cycle and all that stuff. But that was a pretty cool moment. And Chase Blackstock down there just mentioned that his favorite moment is Wyatt Langford. The whole Wyatt Langford
he's
experience.
He's a guy, and he's a moment.
I'll tell you what, though, Chase and John, I'll tell you this, too. I think the best thing that happened to the Rangers was September because Wyatt Langford had a fantastic month.
Yes.
He was the American League Player of the Month. And also, Jacob DeGrom and Kumar Rocker made their debuts. And those are just very significant steps for the 2025 home runs, or Rangers, sorry, especially DeGrom. They have so much money in him. Rocker, it's nice to see. He learned a lot. And I'll be honest. I mean, it wouldn't shock me if they're like, go to AAA for a month, Kumar, and pitch there and get your feet wet. I'm not saying that's going to happen, but I sure think it's a big deal. If we look for the future and all that stuff, Rocker and DeGrom and Langford, what they did in September was big. And then one of my favorite moments, honestly, was that Nathan Eovaldi wanted to pitch the last game of the year.
Cool. Yeah.
And then he went out and shoved it up the Angels' butts.
Yep.
And just a total pro. It was his turn to take the ball. I think maybe he'd recognize that, I might not be back for the Rangers, depending on what happens in free agency. So I want to do this for them and for me. So I thought those were all fun.
Yeah, my moment when you hit me with that just before the show.
Sorry.
And it's okay, because my moment came to my head right away, and it was September 3rd of 2024.
Okay.
And that was the beginning of the torrid month of Wyatt Langford. And that was the night that he hit the walk-off grand slam down 4-3 in the ninth inning to beat the Yankees.
Yeah.
There's just something special about beating the Yankees. And for a young man to come up there, it's still the Yankees. I know the bases are loaded, right? And in fact, that can put more pressure on you. Could make you grip the bat even tighter, like, oh my God, I have to come through here. The bases are loaded. I have to at least get a hit to tie it up, whatever. He goes yard, grand slam, and they walk it off against the Yankees. I mean, it was just, to me, it was one of those, like from the movie The Natural.
Mm-hmm.
It was one of those natural moments,
Yeah, I never thought that he was overwhelmed by any moment.
Never.
It seemed like, when he was injured and went down and worked on his swing and there in May, and he came back, he just became kind of like a guy who, like with 2 out, got a lot of 2-out hits, a lot of big 2-out hits, and then a moment like that, just not intimidated by the situation.
No.
I like that memory right there. Jankowski's game tying home run and on opening day. How about that Jankowski catch?
Yeah, that's the
at
thing.
Chicago. That was fantastic.
MLB.com did a best catch, and the best catch of the year was that Michael Harris catch.
Oh yeah,
and it was better than.
And it was like the day after.
Was it the day? Was it that soon?
Week? Yeah.
I mean, amazing how great that catch was. But I went over and clicked on it to see if they did more than just one. Jankowski had to get some love on that, especially given the circumstances of the game. Yeah.
It was a walk-off homer or a walk-off catch. And good Lord. I mean, I was like, well, the game's over.
Yeah.
And but yeah, so that was pretty cool.
That was fantastic.
It happened to such a great guy. And then look, opening day was great with the trophy presentation and the banner unveiling. That was kind of cool. That's never happened before for the Rangers. So kind of a fun deal. And they were and then it turned out to be a good game with, like we said, the Jankowski homer and the weird thing that happened with Jonah Heim and the ball that he thought was a foul ball or whatever, the wild pitch, and the runner scored from second. He kind of looked foolish. So, but then he got the game-ending hit.
Yeah,
so.
game-winning hit. Yeah. So
a lot of good moments.
A lot of great moments last year, and there are going to be plenty more this year too. It is Tuesday. It is New Year's Eve, but let's get to our Tony Tuesday to close things out on this day. Tony Beasley, the Rangers' third base coach, puts these Tony Tuesdays up on Twitter and probably other, social media platforms as well. But blessings on blessings over each and every one who read this. God loves you so much and just wants you to be wants to be in a relationship with you. Give him your best. Win your day. Tony Tuesdays. We're going to still work on once everybody starts. We've had Tony on the show, through the Zoom, but once everybody starts getting back into town, we're going to work on getting Tony in here. He's always a fun guy to talk to.
Yeah, we gotta get him on every Tuesday.
We need to.
Yeah. I mean, find a sponsor.
It's a possibility.
It's too bad Ruby Tuesdays is no longer
no
around.
Kidding. Ruby Tuesdays. Tony
Tuesdays brought to you by Ruby Tuesdays.
Look at there, man. You're thinking like a sales guy.
Well, that's me.
Yeah. Sadly, right. Sadly, though, you're thinking like a sales guy in the 90s when Ruby Tuesdays was a big deal. Anyway, that's going to do it for this day and for this year. So Happy New Year to each and every one of you. We're not here tomorrow because of the holiday. We will be watching college football, no doubt about that.
Yes.
But Happy New Year to you, and we'll be back on Thursday. That one will be at 1 o'clock, and then on Friday we're back at noon. So we'll see you at 1 o'clock Thursday, the first full day of the new year, as we bring you the DLLS Rangers Podcast. We'll see you then.
We all silly like the mayor.